By the way, I forgot to let everybody know this morning we will be conducting free hearing exams. If at any point in time the bumper music is too loud, guess what? You're not deaf yet, and we're not charging extra for that. Welcome back in. Saturday Showcase live, 25 after the hour. Fast Study Layne, the Hitman Ryan Adcock. Glad to be a part of your morning. Robert Cosper, probably, let's see, I'm willing to bet alien abduction, the Illuminati, or possibly even Budweiser came back to collect on an investment.
You know, Auburn plays at 11 today, so he's already drunk. He had to get started early.
Yeah, I can't believe they moved the game up that early. I thought for sure, it's, if anything, push it back, take it a 1 o'clock start. It's going to be a good game.
I figured it'd be the 2:30 game on CBS, but who knows?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome in a very special guest at this time. Mixed martial arts fighter. Some would say semi-retired, some would say semi-active. I prefer the term semi-active. We'll talk about that in a second. Also, animal activist and the star of the new movie, The Dogfighter. Ladies and gentlemen, Gordon Shell. Gordon, welcome into Beyond Ringside.
Thanks for having me on.
Now, I want to lead in with the mixed martial arts side of life.
Okay.
Because there are so many different reasons why people get drawn towards MMA, and a lot of it comes from, of course, high school athletics, possibly college athletics. For you personally, what was your lead in? What attracted you to it?
All the way back to my childhood, I was a fat kid, so I was picked on a lot. But I grew up. I'm 44 years old, so I grew up, right when they were rerunning all the Bruce Lee movies. I can't say I was there for the originals, but it was the kung fu fighting Friday nights on Channel 50 in my area, and I watched every single one of those and the Chuck Norris movies, and just dreamt about martial arts. And my mom thought it was dangerous and didn't really want me to be a part of it, but I would do whatever I could. I'd be down in the basement with my little handmade nunchucks and kicking the poles in the basement and doing whatever I could to try to mimic what they were doing. And then in high school, I joined the wrestling team. I was an absolute horrible wrestler, horrible record, but I enjoyed the team and I enjoyed just being a part of it. And at 15 years old, I started bodybuilding just because I didn't want to be the fat kid anymore. So it was you either do something about the issue and stop getting beat up, or you just continue on with it and cry the blues the rest of your life. So started working out, got into wrestling, and then right after wrestling, started in the bar business. I was a pumped up bodybuilder, and what's a pumped up bodybuilder do? I go and become a bouncer, and that was right around the time when all the blood sport movies were out and all those series were going on with pit fighting. So, the guys that had money in the bar would hand select us bouncers, and we basically were put into pit fighting after the bar. The bar would close. We'd get $100 to show, $100 to win, and we would go and fight after the bar. And it was, those fights didn't last long, and I didn't have any formal training, but all of a sudden, I was dominant in those, but all of a sudden a couple of guys showed up and just started eating our lunch, and they were martial artists. And you fight a guy just like you see in the ring now, and then we all go out for breakfast afterwards with our, $100 or $200.
Yeah.
But I started talking to these guys, and they introduced me to my new sensei, Randall Lee Mosier, and I started into Ishinryu karate, which is stand-up striking, and that became my base for many years. And I fought in tournaments for many years, and it wasn't a Nama karate. It was a hardcore. Randy Mosier ran a camp that, if you put a video camera in there in our classes, which was never allowed, people would have been surprised. I mean, the black belts were breaking, 2x2s over us while we're doing our katas. He's having us stand in the frozen river in his backyard. It was just all the crazy stuff that I watched in the movies that I thought that is the ultimate discipline. And then he passed in '96, and it just took me a while to find another art that I liked. But then I started in the jiu-jitsu, started in the Gracie jiu-jitsu, and then just kind of kept on evolving and got into the NHB, the no-holds-barred fighting back before it was gloves, and just did some of these unsanctioned tournaments in parking lots where they would just drive poles into the down into the blacktop and put a fence around us and some wrestling mats, and almost like big time wrestling, but we were actually fighting, and that became not the real NHB, but we called it no holds barred fighting. We weren't fighting in truck docks anymore. Now we thought it was regulated. Hey, we have mats in a cage. We're not fighting in concrete. And then it just kept on evolving from there. And eventually the UFC came about and rules came about and people started actually putting on safe events. And, you know, I'm not going to say everybody has safe events because there's still backyard promoters out there right now, but, you know, everybody that I fought for later in my career all pretty much ran by pro rules. Joe Donofrio, Impact Fight League, TXC, you know, Joe Battaglia, those guys all run their shows by pro rules. We get blood tests, he's got ambulances on site, doctors, referees, commissioners. So I felt safe, and I mean, that's basically a long story evolution of my getting into the MMA, and here I am 44 years old, and I'm still training. You know, the hopes of that super fight that I always talk about is a possibility. So we'll see where it goes.
That is definitely one of the topics. Sorry about that. Cough button didn't work. That's one of the topics I really want to hit on. But now, you were saying that you were really kind of horrible as far as the wrestling goes. What do you feel was your downfall in that?
Oh, now I'm better. I'm much better. I just, you know, the attention deficit in high school, it was more about being on the team. I liked the endurance training. I liked all that. But as far as doing drills and just keep on drilling, that just wasn't if I don't get something right away, I just give up on it. I've been trying to learn guitar for 15 years right now, and, you know, just basically will never learn guitar. I'm not about sitting there and drilling that type of stuff. But if I really, really, really like something like, you know, jiu-jitsu, I'm working with Don Richards. He was King of Cage World Champion. When he has us drill things, he has us drill it in a way that you learn quickly, and you don't just drill the same thing over and over again for a full hour class. You get it, and then you execute it. We practice it. We roll for a half hour. We make sure we understand what we're doing with it, and then we move on. And then, you know, we evolve it into something else in the next class. So it isn't, I get bored easily is my problem. So, you know, doing drills wasn't my thing back in high school. As I get older, you know, obviously I want to learn. In high school, you have that stubborn punk attitude, like, I know it, move on to the next thing, coach, and then you get your ass whipped in tournament.
Exactly. Now, I got to ask this question. You're 44, I'm 47, and I was watching the infancy of mixed martial arts as it is presented through the different promotions, whether it be Pride, all of the across the board from Japan all the way to the U.S., and I've noticed there is not only an evolution, but a de-evolution as far as the fighters. And I'm wondering if you've seen the same thing, because the reason why I say this, when mixed martial arts tournament format was originally introduced to the domestic audience, there was a true reverence about it because it was more about the sport. And I say this about a number of things. We saw it, one of the main features that we cover here on Beyond Ringside as well is professional wrestling. There's been, you know, during the 80s, pro wrestlers were looked at as rock stars. And as time went on, that moved to TV stars and movie stars. I've seen in the world of mixed martial arts go from the reverence of the discipline and the excellence of the fighter to more of, and of course I thank the UFC for this first and foremost, not necessarily that is being sarcastic, more of a rock star attitude from a lot of the fighters, not only on a local level, but on the national level. Do you think that a lot of the kids are wanting to get involved in mixed martial arts nowadays because it looks like a rock star thing to do?
Absolutely. You know, before it was discipline. You send a kid in, and I come from a traditional martial arts background where, you know, you're testing, you're doing your katas. I mean, some of our testing days, Randy would have us all sitting on our knees for 6 hours straight while we watched everybody test. It's brutal. I mean, and that's not something that a youngster would want to get into now. That's not rock star. And our dojo was locked down. You didn't have cameras. We didn't have video camera phones. You didn't videotape everything you were doing. I mean, I have no videos of all my tournaments. So you couldn't get that rock star persona back then. So it really wasn't that prestige for these kids. It it was kind of like going to soccer practice. You go and your mom and dad drag you there, and you got to go to soccer tonight. You can't go and play Nintendo. Now, these kids want to go there, and I actually owned Four Aces Fight Club, and I had so many kids walk through that front door with zero experience, not even a wrestler, and they say, hey, can you give me a break on my membership, because when I make it to the UFC, I'll remember you and I'll bring something back, and I'm going to be the biggest star ever. And they have no experience, and they think I'm going to train them for 6 months. They're going to go to the Ultimate Fighter tryouts. They're going to get on TV, and they're going to be the biggest star ever. And that's the way they looked at it. And I think your traditional guys like GSP and those guys, they are traditional martial artists, and I respect GSP because he walks around and holds himself high. But then every so often they have to have him do something rock star because it's entertainment. Dana needs to be able to sell tickets and make money.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to take the quiet, disciplined, shut down personality. I mean, that was something that some of my friends, my closest friends, never came to any of my tournaments because I never invited them, because something my sensei taught me, and it was true, is you're going to go out in the world and you're going to tell people you're in karate. There's two things going to happen to you. One guy's going to want to fight you. The other guy's going to want to belittle you and tell you you're an idiot. Don't even tell anybody you're in karate. This is for you, not for everybody else.
Exactly.
So I just didn't go out there and announce it or parade it around, because the very first time I brought some of my younger friends to a tournament, they watched me do a kata, and it was a Sanchin kata, which is a boring kata. It's a breathing kata. Mm-hmm. And they were bored, were laughing at me, and they said, what the hell is that? And I said, you know what? That's the last time you guys are ever coming to any of my stuff. And so I just kind of, you learn to build a wall around yourself. And I think a true disciplinary martial artist like a GSP, he has that discipline wall around him. He doesn't really want the cameras on him unless he has to. But then you get the Mayhem Millers of the world that want to paint their hair red and be the rock star. So, I mean, there's all those personalities. And right now, to get on the Ultimate Fighter, I know many people. I mean, friends of mine, Darren Crookshank, Miles Jury, all these guys from Michigan that go there. And Darren's an awesome fighter. Miles is an awesome fighter. But I know 3 or 4 other guys that are incredible fighters that show up but have no personality. They're just awesome fighters, but they do not play well on the camera. And they don't make it. They don't make it through the auditions. You have to have personality nowadays to make it to the cage.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed as a simple factor, and you've used the word a number of times, and I genuinely respect and appreciate the word, especially when it comes to martial arts, not necessarily mixed martial arts, and that is discipline. Because first and foremost, most of your martial arts are a genuine form of discipline. They teach you that patience. They teach you, once again, there's that D word right there. They teach you how to keep your head on straight in the middle of a crisis circumstance. It's not necessarily, true martial arts is a methodology for bettering yourself, not just for kicking somebody else's tail.
Exactly. That was my religion. That was what we were taught, is basically make yourself whole before you can go out and help anybody else, which is different than most religions. Is, they're telling you to go and give yourself to the Lord, or give yourself and they'll make you whole. No, we were about creating the ultimate being and being strong. And once you're strong, it's like when the oxygen mask dropped in the jet when you're about ready to crash, you put your mask on first.
Exactly.
Because you have to be strong before you strap it on your child. If you try to help that child, you're going to pass out. And you have to be strong before you can go help anybody else. And that's what my sensei beat into our head, literally, is that, this is about you, and you better be the strongest one before you go and try to help anybody else. So discipline is huge for me. And then, running the school in the recent times, you tell a kid to drop and give you 50 push-ups, and he gives you the FU. I mean, I wasn't even allowed to make eye contact with my sensei, or I could get, knocked out. And now I've got a kid rolling in there telling me to, I don't know if we can say that, but he's dropping F-bombs on me when I'm telling him to give me 50 push-ups. I'm like, really? Did you just say that to me? There's the door.
I blame reality TV, and I blame MTV. Of course, I blamed MTV a long time ago. Now, and because, see, the weird part is I'm back in high school, actually, just getting in, freshman year, and a friend of mine is studying karate. And I said, can I come along? I might be interested. And I'm watching what they go through, and it's like, this is, now for me, they were doing the basics. They were starting out with the basic stretching, loosening up, breathing, and it's like, you know something? This actually makes sense to me, because I realize that, you know, they always say stretch before working out. They always say wait 30 minutes after eating before going in the pool. And why? Because you have to pace yourself. If you don't know how to breathe, you're going to go short of breath real quick. If you don't loosen your muscles, they're going to go out on you when you need them the most of the time.
Okay.
And that's why it's like I'm sitting back and I'm watching, and they're going through the basic counts, and I'm learning how to count in Japanese. For me, that was an accomplishment. I'm not ADD. I just have no attention span. There's a big difference there.
There you go.
But it's all in the presentation, the way that you allow it to be presented to you. If you go in thinking this is a discipline, you understand the concept a little bit better than, ooh, I'm going to kick somebody's backside. Guess what? It takes a long time to get to that point. And you have to be patient with yourself. And in this day and age, it is hard as hell to be patient, especially with yourself. Yeah, man, come on in. Got a question for Gordon Shell?
Well, it's more of a comment and a question, I guess, together. And I can relate a couple of things together here. I mean, it's kind of like what he's talking about with the World Series of Poker or professional wrestling, you know. Until 2003 in the World Series of Poker, it was kind of a backroom, dirty kind of thing, you know, until the nobody won the main event, and then it kind of exploded with people doing interviews and stuff like that. But it's kind of like wrestling and MMA, too. But don't you think, the reason I'm saying is because it was backroom, let's go out back and, you know, get the fence and beat the snot out of each other. But, I mean, don't you think you need those guys that you're talking about, like GSP, that have to do an interview, to bring it from the back rooms and the dirty kind of stuff all the way into the main front for the money to get bigger? And don't you think you need those kind of guys, though, kind of in a way?
Yeah, you know, I think so. I mean, you have to have the good guys, you have to have the villains, and you have to have the bad guys. Absolutely. I mean, I as much as I had no respect for Tank Abbott was fun to watch in the ring, and he sold tickets. You know, it's he is the epitome of he's an underdog. I mean, he's just a fat, sloppy guy from the street that was just a brute, had really no formal training, and would go in and pick up, you know, wait for a martial artist to do a pretty high kick, grab onto his leg, pick him up, slam him down, and then just brutalize the guy. That's fun, but I don't think those guys at the UFC level will last at all. This isn't the early days of the UFC. The early days of the UFC, you just wanted to be a big, bad dude that could grab onto somebody, and then all of a sudden Gracie steps in there and proves that you just can't be a big, bad dude. Now you have to have discipline, because this little 170-pound guy is going to snap Tank Abbott's arm. Even if Tank can get a hold of Gracie's going to crawl up on him and choke him out while Tank Abbott's trying to throw him out of the cage. So it's fun to have the gritty, dirty guys in there, but at the UFC level, those guys aren't going to last at all. I mean, it's almost Brock Lesnar had enough talent to be in there for as long as he was, but then you get him up against somebody that just has the ultimate discipline and talent, and they're not just a monster wrestler. They're rounded. They know how to kick. They know how to fight. They have endurance. They have all that, and Brock just didn't have everything, every tool that he needed. No offense to Brock. I have high respect for him. He's an amazing athlete for the size of that guy, and he was a world champion at one time, so I'm not going to put him down at all, but it's getting to be, everybody asks me nowadays, would you step in the ring with John Jones? Would you step in? I said, not even for fun, I wouldn't go against those guys. I mean, John Jones literally looks like he sharpens his elbows. I mean, his body is created for this, and I mean, he could just be playing around with you, sparring, and he's going to slice your head open with an elbow just going half speed. I don't even want to play with those guys. Yeah, it would be an honor. I've got to roll with some great guys, but at this level, they're so honed in. It's not a slugfest anymore at all. It's a real chess game. When you get the guys, you know, like like GSP, I just keep on going back to him just because I think he's so precise, or Silva, or Machida. Those guys are all looking for you guys are at such a high level. They're just looking for the other guy's mistake.
Right.
That's all they're doing. They're just watching for, oh, his elbow's too high, I can do this. Oh, his wrist is at the wrong angle, because you know the muscle memory of the other guy's body, because you know what you've trained. All you're looking for is, you saw his eyes go to the right, you know his left foot's coming. They're looking for such little things now. Tank Abbott was just looking for something to grab onto. So I don't know if that answers your question or if it's a long ramble, but yeah, it's a whole different level now.
Oh, absolutely. But basically what I was saying, and you kind of reiterated it, I think, but if it wasn't for guys like Tank Abbott, do you think guys like GSP and Anderson Silva and Machida and all those guys would have the popularity that they do now? Because Tank, like I said, like wrestlers who could wrestle help bring people in professional wrestling, but you needed guys that could talk on the microphone. I mean, you see great wrestlers that never got a major push in professional wrestling because they couldn't talk. But if it wasn't for people like Tank Abbott that did what he did, would it be at the point that it is now? Would it be as popular and as polarized and as glamorous as it is now? People like Gracie and Abbott, people like that.
Not at all, because then if it was just Gracie and GSP to start it out, that's a karate tournament. And obviously people don't pay big money to go to a high school karate tournament or even go to a karate tournament in an arena. People don't care for the traditional martial arts. They need a little bit of Hollywood and a little bit of trash talking and a little bit of big-time wrestling mixed in. I mean, that's what's happened with the UFC. The UFC has taken the best of everything. They've taken boxing, they've taken karate, and they've taken the WWE, the WWF, the characters. And they've latched a character onto a disciplined fighter, and you've got the best. I know there's reasons to go watch WWE because it's still got great entertainment, and there's still reasons to go watch boxing, but when you can see it all in one cage.
Debatable.
That's debatable. But when you can see it all in one cage, it's a whole different, why. Just wait for the next UFC to pop up, or the next, Strikeforce is gone, but Bellator's growing like crazy.
Glory.
These guys are, you've got it all in one arena now. You don't have to pick a sport anymore because they're all mixed into one.
Yeah, I was making a reference during the course of the shows, and one of the ones that I've been keeping a very solid track of has been the World Series of Fighting on the NBC Sports Network. They come on every once in a while on that particular frequency, and they've worked to really build a solid core group of fighters, and they keep looking to expand and build with the different weight classes, and that's good. That's a great thing for MMA. I sit back and I look and I'm hearing the different names that y'all are throwing out there, and I noticed neither of you have made the reference to either Ken Shamrock or Dan Severn.
Well, you can put those guys in there too. Obviously, I just didn't get to those.
Oh yeah,
because
Ken Shamrock's actually in the movie with me, so we got to train with him personally. But you continue on. I just had to drop that plug in there for the movie with Ken Shamrock.
Oh, no, it's perfect, because actually that's to say I'm actually heading in that direction right now. Let me go ahead and ask. Before the movie, before the challenge, there was obviously a love for animals to a great degree. First off, how many pets do you personally own, and how is there a particular breed of? I know that obviously it's going to be a dog. Is there a particular breed that you're fond of the most?
Not at all. I'm lumped in with the pit bulls just because of what I do against the dog fighters. So every picture, every promo, everything that everybody sees with me is with pit bulls. And then I'm also very active in trying to get rid of the anti-DSL laws, the breed-specific legislation that's across the country that bans pit bulls. I mean, you can set up your own pit bull rules if you own an apartment complex. You can say you can have Dobermans, Shepherds, but hey, no pit bulls are allowed in this apartment complex. So we're working really hard. Rebecca Corey's got a million pit bull march happening in May of next year. We're going to fight all that, but everybody kind of puts me in with pit bulls, but my fight has kind of led towards the pit bulls, and I'm around them so much, and I've been around thousands, literally thousands and thousands of pit bulls. Some of them fighters, some of them not, and I've never been attacked. I've never felt threatened. I mean, they're an amazing breed of dog. I actually have two. I don't have two pit bulls. I've got what was supposed to be a German. Mine are both rescues, so I rescued them when they were puppies. One was supposed to be a German Shepherd, but she ended up being 22 pounds, so she's kind of a miniature version of a German Shepherd. Beautiful dog, smart. And then my other is a Lab that has a little bit of pit mixed in her. She's got the pit forehead, but the rest of her is all black Lab. And those are my children. I recently went through a divorce, and you can see that kind of play out in the movie. So both of my dogs are at my wife's right now, but I get full visitation anytime I want to go by there. I can see them. We're on good terms. So it kind of leaves me open to adopt, and obviously I've got thousands of dogs thrown at me constantly. So I'm just looking for that one that I get. You just got to connect. Right. And that's what I'm waiting for. Plus, I've been traveling so much. I mean, this is the very first weekend I've been home in the past 3 months, just doing movies. My promotion, I was in L.A. last week for Rebecca Corey's Stand Up for Pits, doing the red carpet there. I mean, we had Mo Collins, Whitney Cummings, Rebecca Corey, Bill Burr. I mean, it was just a who's who on a red carpet out there, all doing, raising money to stop this ban on pit bulls, and then help fight the dog fighting epidemic. So yeah, I have two dogs, but they're not sitting on my lap right now, unfortunately. I miss them. I don't have children. Those are my children. So it's very difficult for me to not have them around, and I will probably be adopting right around Christmas time. So I've been talking about it a lot. Now I gotta just actually go out and do it. But I need to slow down before I can do that. Otherwise, it's not fair to the animal to not have me around.
Understand the concept. Robert Cosper, come on in. Question for Gordon Shell.
Is Ebony going to buy the two women in a pair of handcuffs excuse?
No, we're not.
Grab your angle all over our ass in here and let's do this interview.
All right. How about the significant other? Felt like I should sleep in and didn't wake me. Let's go with that one. Guys, I apologize. Seriously. Gordon, I watched the movie last night. Outstanding. Great job. Very, very good. And I was watching so much of it, and I was kind of comparing it to my two dogs. One of mine's a rescue. The other one I went out and imported that problem because he is just an obnoxious 100-plus pound Doberman. But my rescue is part pit and part lab, just like you said. Just mine happens to be yellow as opposed to black. Man, incredible movie. And when you really let the point hit home with you and take in real life terms what you're doing, man, that's incredible, man. You can step in that ring and that can be the end, man. It can be over for you. That's the end of your life, and you're doing that to save the dogs, man. And that's absolutely incredible.
I actually had the studio. We didn't get to the chance to sign it, but I really wanted. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was healthy. I mean, my doctors had to sign off. Donna Friel wouldn't let me step in that cage. I wouldn't want to do that to the MMA community, to be the first guy to have a heart attack, while filming a movie in the cage. That would have just made it. I mean, Bill O'Reilly, everybody else would have been running all over with that. MMA's got to stop. John McCain would have jumped back on his soapbox. So I didn't want to take a chance on that. So I was 100% healthy when I stepped in that cage, but you never know what's going to happen. And I told the director I want it either documented on paper or you're going to film it right now. So they turned the camera on down the locker room, and I basically told them, if anything happens to me in that cage, keep the cameras rolling. We have to finish this. And I wasn't trying to be a hero. It was a little bit of greed. I was married at the time. We don't, this is an independent film. We don't know how much money it's going to make, but I just kept on referring to the movie Grizzly Man, that movie about the hippie that went out in the woods and lived with the grizzlies, and at the end the grizzlies ate him, and it was a hit movie, and nobody would have run watch that movie if that guy wouldn't have got eaten at the end. Nobody wants to see a guy run around the woods with a bunch of bears being crazy, smoking dope, but he got ate at the end, and that made that movie the biggest hit. And I just figured if I do go out, I'm not allowed to have life insurance because I'm a mixed martial arts fighter, a whole nother topic. But my wife would be left with nothing. So I just said, if I'm going out, you keep filming this. You finish this film, my wife becomes, the benefactor of my share of the film, and this is going to be a hit. If somebody knows that I died in the ring for the dogs, who isn't going to watch that? So I wasn't hoping for it, but, you could go out as big as how can you go out any bigger unless it was with handcuffs and whatever you were doing last night? I don't think it gets any bigger than that. So, that was the goal of it. And obviously I look at the Mickey Rourke movie, The Wrestler, and how it ended. To have the drama of an ending like that would made the movie we expect is going to be a hit anyhow, but that's just an overnight success, a box office smash that everybody talks about if I would have went out that way. So you never know on the sequel. Could be. I'm getting older.
Now, do me a favor. Let everybody know the easy way that they can see the new movie.
It's available right now. It's an online service. It's called Vimeo, Vimeo.com, and you just search for the Dogfighter movie, or we have a website. It's www.thedogfightermovie.com, and then there's a Facebook page, thedogfightermovie.com. So just keep on remembering the Dogfighter movie and Google it, and you'll find it. But it's available on Vimeo. It's $5 rental, and then we've chosen 5 different rescues. And then we also have the Michigan Humane Societies in the movie. Mark Ramos from Animal Cops Detroit from the Animal Planet works for Michigan Humane Society. So you'll see him and I out on calls with the dogs. Ken Shamrock's in the movie. But because Mark and the Humane Society did such a big part of the movie for us, we're automatically giving them a pretty good percentage of all the proceeds. And then the rest go to the other rescues that we have on the list. And then every 3 months, we will change out that list of rescues, and the next list of rescues will get the benefit of the money coming in from the movie. So we're trying to spread a message, but we didn't want to just put out a free movie there to spread a message. We think there's more value to spreading the message and also taking in funds so we can actually help these shelters survive and help guys like Mark Ramos keep his job so we can go out there and fight these guys. And then, I own 6 bulletproof vests. Those are $800 a piece. Yeah. We have to be able to finance these so we don't get killed out there, because if you watch the movie, you saw that these dogs are worth $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 each. When I run into the yard and snatch that guy's dog, he's firing at me. So they don't like those. We couldn't show any of them in the movie because we were working directly with the Humane Society. And you heard him say, hey, if nobody calls us, we'll come back and take these dogs. You can't take the dog unless the owner surrenders it. But in the dark of night, you sure can. And that isn't through the Humane Society. That's just through the dumb fighter mentality that I have. If I know somebody's beating their wife, I can't do anything to you in front of the cops, but you know what? I'm going to come back and make sure your wife's safe when the cops aren't around.
I know that you said you've got a project coming up at the top of the hour, but I want to go one more time around the horn real quick because I want to go ahead and take the point on one of the other major topics that has been definitely keeping your name in the headlines. Hitman, come on back in one more round.
Well, I just want to say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, my wife's a veterinarian tech, and we have adopted rescues at my house, and she deals with rescues all over the state. I respect immensely what you do, so I just want to thank you for that.
Appreciate
also,
that.
and all your promotional videos, if you're up there with a Chihuahua and a rat terrier, it's hard to look hard, so that's why you're always up there with pit bulls.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's plenty of pictures of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and his dog probably weighs about 4 pounds.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, he still looks like a bad mother standing next to that dog. So everybody tells me if you can't get a dog because you're traveling, you know what? Dwayne Johnson travels with his dog, and I think it's a mini pincher or something. But you know what? That's always an option for me. A dog is a dog to me. I mean, they all have personality. They all have feelings. and they all bring you comfort, and they love you no matter what. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much hair you have, or if you're in shape or out of shape. You walk through that front door, that dog doesn't care. That dog's just happy to see you. So if I could find a woman like that, I'd be all set. But I just got to stick to dogs right now.
Yeah, good luck there.
Cosper, come on in one more round with Gordon Shell.
Oh man, I just want to tell you the movie well worth the $5. Also on Vimeo. Now how I found it was I typed in Dog Fighter and it took you to the trailer. And if you watch the trailer, it will give you an automatic link to the movie, so it's very easy to find on there.
Yes, it is.
And honestly, you covered one of my questions because I was going to ask you. You know, I was watching you guys doing the rescue in the movie, or the different rescues and going out on calls, and I was like, man, why are they wearing vests? So that cured that.
At the Humane Society, you don't. Our entire film crew, sound guys, lighting, camera guys, the director, they strapped us in vests. And I'm in the city of Detroit. I mean, I don't care what you're doing down there. You're going down to see the opera. I recommend just wearing a vest.
Yeah.
It's just they're shooting people for fun down there right now. So not a place to be, and especially not a place to be when you're going down to snap somebody's dog. So they all suit up. The entire crew at the Humane Society, any of the guys that I run out with at night, we have full bulletproof with stab protection. We're not taking any chances. They shot me in the chest January 3rd of this year 3 times. And if I wouldn't have had that, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
We're thankful that you're on with us, and we're thankful you survived that. I want to ask real quick, how are you set for time? Do you have a few more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I've still got another 15 before I go on with Foster.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Like I said, I know that you said you've got something coming up just after the top of the hour, and we're going to let you talk about that on the way out. Now, you know, we are based in Alabama, which, if you know anything, well, you're based out of Michigan, so you've got, you know, the Wolverines and the Spartans as one of the major rivalries in college sports, especially. Down here, we've got Alabama and Auburn, and UAB trying to find the right coach to get into the mix, but that'll take another 10 decades. A lot of people put football players on that. Yeah, well, I can dream, Ryan. Leave me alone. A lot of people put football players on that immortal pedestal, and whether they be defensive line, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, quarterback.
Why does nobody put the lineman on that pedestal?
Cornelius
If
Bennett,
it wasn't
Steve
for the
Berlin.
lineman, all them other guys wouldn't be squat.
And for the record,
True.
Corso picked Alabama. Guess what? He's going to get another. He's going to get another W in that win column. Sorry, I'm an Alabama fan down here. You know, roll Tide.
It's coming from a man who was more worried about Tennessee than apparently he is from LSU. So, anyway.
Oh no, I'm worried about
Yeah,
LSU. I'm saying LSU by 1 touchdown at the most. But we digress. Let's stick with the format. We'll talk about football in a few minutes.
Format? What's that?
I don't talk about football. It's a dangerous sport. I stick to MMA. I want to stay where I'm safe.
There you go.
Wow.
That will be a soundbite to be used later in promos, folks. But seriously, especially quarterbacks have a tendency to be put on that pedestal. And the reason why I say quarterbacks in particular, we all know of a circumstance that took place, and a lot of people who haven't followed you, Gordon, aren't going to know about this. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay it out there for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may not remember, especially if they have short-term memory, and especially in this culture they do, the factor that Michael Vick, former quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, now, of course, on the disabled list from the Philadelphia Eagles,
Yes, sir.
was found guilty of trafficking dogs for fighting purposes, for owning dogs for fighting purposes, and for providing the venue for pit bull fighting and dog fighting. A lot of people, myself included, felt that logistically he got off way too lightly because of the fact that he is a star quarterback in the NFL, or was a star quarterback, still is. And you have done something that a lot of us would love to be able to do. Now,
Haven't got to do it yet, but we're there.
well, you have laid out the challenge, and it has been a sustained challenge to Michael Vick
Yes, it is.
to meet you in an MMA cage, in an octagon, in a hexagon. It doesn't matter if it's 6 or 8 sides. You have laid out that invitation with a special purpose behind it. If you would, go ahead and lay it out there for the audience to hear.
Well, basically, when he was caught, I was in the rescue business and had dogs of my own, and it was at the same time that in my neighborhood they were coming through, the dog fighters, and they would tag your fence. So they would have a lead truck come through, and there would just be somebody who's walking through innocently in your neighborhood, and they would actually put a piece of tape on your fence, and that meant there was a dog in that backyard. And then the rest of the crew would come along later with a van or a truck, and they would jump that fence and take your dog, and your dog becomes a bait dog. So I was alerted to that at the same time that the Vic story was coming out, and if you ever notice, I'm a little bit vigilant. And I said, there's just no way this is going to happen. And my dogs have a doggy door. And I wasn't going to shut down my life and lock my dogs in the house. I mean, I want them to be able to run around in my backyard. So I watched closely for that day when that piece of tape went up on my fence, and I knew they were coming through, and I was alerted it was a white van. And I chased them down, and I never caught them. But that just sent me into an absolute rage. And I said, listen, if I ever get the chance, Michael Vick has taught these guys how to do this. Not necessarily taught them, because it's a traditional thing. It was a gentleman's sport that the white guys did back in the cotton days, and I'm not even going to call it a gentleman's sport. It was still brutal to the dogs. But Vic took it to another level because he put it out there and was financing these high-end fights with hundreds and hundreds of dogs. And he took it to another level because if those dogs didn't win or they didn't perform properly, then he tortured them. So not only was he fighting a dog, he was torturing them for entertainment, hanging them, electrocuting them, drowning them, shooting them so where they wouldn't die, they would struggle, and then they would just target practice this dog as it tried to get away. And that's not rumor, that's fact. He testified to doing that. He testified to grabbing one dog. He grabbed one end of the dog. His partner grabbed the other end of the dog, the legs, treated it like a jump rope, and bounced it off the concrete while the dog screamed until it died. Those images are forever embedded on all of our heads that are in the animal rescue.
Yeah.
And then he goes away to prison. He did do 18 months in prison, but he's an all-star athlete. I'm sure he wasn't in solitude or whatever, and I don't have any facts on where he was kept in the prison house. But the fact that he got out, he was making $12 million a year to throw a football again, and he's out there writing books called Redemption, saying that he redeemed himself and finally free, and telling everybody to leave him alone and everything else, and then all these other people jumping on going, oh, he paid his dues. No, so many people want an eye for an eye, and we obviously can't hang him, electrocute him, drown him, do anything like that legally.
Damn.
But what I thought of, and it was one of my students that brought it up one day when we were sitting in class, and they said, why don't you call him out? You're such a tough guy. And he was joking with me. He goes, tell him you want to fight him in the cage. I said, I'd take him in the cage any day. I don't care what type of athlete he is. And my student says, oh, settle down, old man. I said, really? And that's when back in around 2009, we just started hitting every avenue I could find. His publicist, PR person, managers, anything I could get an email to. I was just sending an open letter with a proposal. And my proposal is step into the cage, make this an event, a pay-per-view event that you got a built-in audience. Vic's got millions of fans that would love to see me get my ass kicked because they think I'm a punk chasing him. I've gotten tons of hate mail. I've been called a racist. Why am I not beating up Roethlisberger for raping a woman? That's not my cause. Rape is horrible, but that's not my cause. My cause is dogfighting, and Mike Vick is the face of dogfighting. So I presented it as, put him in the ring. We'll do amateur-style rules, 9 minutes. We're going to do three 3-minute rounds, so he doesn't even have to have extraordinary cardio. No offense to football players, but they run full speed for 45 seconds, then they get 3-minute break. We're the opposite. We go full speed for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we get a 1-minute break. So I think I can beat him cardio-wise, no problem. But let's dumb down the rounds to 3 minutes. 3 3-minute rounds with referees, with doctors, with audience, with my 3 million fans and his 20 million fans, whatever he's got.
Right.
We've got an instant success at $5 or $9.99 pay-per-view. I'm not going to get UFC money. We're not getting $50 for this thing, but $9.99. We put some other decent names on the card, and we make this the main event. And we will net close to $5 million. After the promoters take their money and everything else, we'll net $5 million that we can turn around and hand back to the cause. I don't want a penny for this fight. Obviously, I'll get, whatever merchandising. I'll get something for it. I'm not a saint. But to walk in the cage, I do not want a penny to fight that man. But it gives, and people say, why would he do this? Why would he want to be put in there? He's going to lose. And B, why would he want to be thrown back into the dogfighting genre? He is. He's never gotten out of that. Nobody believes that he's gone out of that. So there's millions of people that are going to continue to hate him. This is an opportunity for him to step up and say, okay, listen, guys, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to fight this guy. I'm going to bleed. I'm fighting against my will like I did to the dogs. So you got that from me. Gordon's going to slug me in the face. I know I'm going to hit him at least once, maybe that's all it takes. But I'm going to try to do whatever I can to him. And I don't fight angry. I am a disciplined, I am a traditional martial artist. I go in there with a calm head, and I'm going in there to fight. I'm going in there to win. I'm not going in there to gouge his eyes out, and I'm not going in there to break his arms like everybody wants me to do. And we're going to fight. And at the end of the fight, I've presented it to him this way. At the end of the fight, win or lose, if he knocks me out, I knock him out, or however it ends, I take the microphone at the end, and I tell the audience that's watching, the arena and all the pay-per-view people, I say, listen, people, we don't have to forgive this man. We don't have to forget what he did. But I'm going to use the title of both of his books. He has stepped into this cage to attempt to redeem himself.
Right.
So let's give him that, and let's finally let him be free. Let him go. I've got $3 million in my hand right now that I'm going to take to dog rescues, and it's because he stepped in here and stood up and fought me. And then I can hand the microphone to him, and if he chooses to say, I am sorry, or whatever he decides to say, it's up to him. If he's smart enough, he might just raise his hand and say, thank you, let me be free, here's $3 million, go save some dogs. That should get, if I get 1 million people to back off of his Facebook page. I mean, his page gets blown up every day. It is some freedom. I'm offering him some freedom, but the main thing is, look at what we would accomplish for the dogs. What other event can you think of that would generate $3 to $5 million for our cause in 9 minutes? I mean, it would be unheard of. And we could do this easily, and there's so many people that would back this up, and there's promoters that are just salivating over it right now.
Oh, you're speaking to and I know my cohorts are going to give me crap in the next segment for this, but I tell you what, if this does come to light, I would love to be the one to either do some kind of commentary or at least the ring announcing for it. I would fly myself up there for this.
I would too.
I don't know where we'd put it. Obviously, I love Las Vegas. I want to see my lights on the Las Vegas, my name up in lights on the Las Vegas Strip. But Mr. Donofrio here in Detroit, he's always treated me well, and he has access to the Palace of Auburn Hills where the Pistons play and Kid Rock plays. And
nice.
I mean, we've got 40,000 seats there. How much? 30,000, 40,000 seats there. We can do it. I fought there in 2010. We could put it in the middle of that. And make a huge gate sales. I mean, gate sales alone would be a huge contribution. But to do a pay-per-view, which is very simple to do, at $9 a piece, or even if we did $5 a piece, it would be unheard of money. And if VIX people say, we can't take that chance, he can't come in and fight for free, he's an athlete. You know what? Then we take $1 million of that and hand him a paycheck. And nobody needs to know about it. I'm announcing it right now, but if that's what they chose to do, we would not announce that he got paid to do this. We still want to give him an opportunity. We just need him in that cage. We need an opportunity to draw blood. But we're not drawing blood. I've shut down his Barnes & Noble book tour, myself and a whole group of people, because every time he was going to show up at a Barnes & Noble to sign a book in Atlanta, animal groups would put together money and send me round-trip tickets and say, Gordon, come on down and get a book signed. And then they would blow that up on the internet, and then he would cancel. We canceled 3 of his cities, and finally Barnes & Noble dropped him. So then he decided he's going to do autograph sessions at BW3's, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Right.
And $75 a piece, you can go get his autograph. You know what? BW3's got millions of hits on their Facebook page, on their website, with hate mail. And then here I was going down there to meet him to get an autograph. Guess what? Canceled. So we're just kind of taking the steps to piss him off a little bit. You know, make him want to fight me. He knows who I am. The Huffington Post reporter went up to his manager and said, "Is he going to fight Gordon Schell or not?" And his manager said, "He's concentrating on the Denver game right now. He doesn't have time to think about this guy." Well, he lost to Denver 52-20. So obviously, I think I might have gotten to his head, or else he just sucks. I mean, he's never going to step foot on the Eagles field again. There's many articles about that. I mean, Foles jumped up and has a 98.1% rating right now as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Why would you put Vic back in? He's got a losing record right now, and he's hurt.
The same
He's on a major downslide, so his career's over.
The same
opportunity for him to do one last thing.
You mentioned quarterbacks. The same reason why Rex Ryan had this love affair with Sanchez for the longest time up in New York. Gee, what a surprise! Yeah, and I'll sit back and say this. I don't know. I'm of the school of thought. I've watched Vic progress and regress. He was a good quarterback at one point in time, but he put his body through way too much. He took way too many unnecessary risks in order to try to do things. And the mark of a true quarterback, I mean, high school, college, pro, doesn't matter. Even CFL and arena football. With no disrespect to CFL and arena, I've watched both of those, and they're a lot of fun to watch. And no, I'm not just covering my tracks on that. There is a line that you have to draw. It's like, this is what I'm willing to do, to win a regular season game. It's different if it's the Super Bowl or the playoffs. That is an entirely different animal, but he just took, so to speak, he just took way too many chances as a quarterback, and his body is paying the price, and still the Eagles organization just continued to throw money at him. It's like, look, I wish I could find a company dumb enough to just throw money at me for no reason.
Oh, yeah. And you look at he literally got Andy Reid fired. And Andy Reid goes on to Kansas City, and what's Kansas City doing now?
9-0.
So did the Eagles make the right decision there? I mean, that's crazy.
See, that's going to be a horse of a different color, so to speak. I know we're talking dogs, but I got to mention the horse reference too. And speaking of, before I go any further, and I know that we're headed for the wrap point, I say this from the bottom of my heart. First off, for everything that you are working to accomplish and have accomplished, thank you. It is appreciated. When my wife and I first got together, she had a 2-year-old, actually just under 2-year-old, husky that was a shelter rescue. And that dog right now is close to 16 years of age. Still feels like she's a 49-pound lap dog and a puppy all at the same time. Spry for her age, which I've been told about. Different story. But here's the thing. There was a phrase that went around for years, folks. It's called, and it's still around to a limited degree. Don't shop, adopt.
Exactly.
Because you can and you will find at your local animal shelters some of the coolest that you will ever find. Now, here's the scoop, and this is going to be really bad for PetSmart and companies like this. I know that the pets that they have are in a controlled environment. The air conditioning, the heating, the regular water, the regular food. The shelters of themselves need help. Your local animal shelter needs help. And you can help in one of two ways. You can go and you can make a donation to the Shelter Pet Project or your local animal shelter. It's like in our home area, the Jefferson County area, in my home area, the Shelby County area, we both have shelters that we can actually do things with. And if you can make a monetary donation, make it. If 100 people gave $5, that's $500, and that will help feed and take care of a number of animals for a period of time. But if you have the home and the resources and the time, there's that key word. Drop by, because if you just want to go rescue an animal from a shelter, but you work 2 jobs and you're never there, you're doing yourself and that pet a disservice. But if you feel that you can spend quality time with a dog, with a cat, with a boa constrictor, with a gerbil, with a falcon. Wear a glove. Drop by your local pet shelter. I guarantee you, you will find the pet of your dreams under that roof. In addition to the movie and the challenge, and of course you said that you are still sensei. For the record, in your area, if there are those who would like to possibly champion the cause of learning mixed martial arts and picking it up for more than just a hobby, or as a hobby, how can they get in touch with you in the dojo?
Actually, I sold my school off, but I work closely with Don Richards and Brendan Seguin. Those were my coaches that you see in the movie, and they both have dojos here. Don Richards, world champion jiu-jitsu, world champion king of the cage. Probably between him and Brendan, that's why I chose him as my final coaches. Two of the toughest guys I've ever met. Brendan Seguin's fought Strikeforce, Bellator, fought some of the top UFC guys, and he was my striking and endurance coach. Don was and Brendan, my inspiration coach too. But Don, same thing. But Don is inspiration and probably one of the toughest jiu-jitsu guys I've ever met, and true black belt jiu-jitsu. He's Miles' jury. Miles is undefeated in the UFC right now. He was on the season 10 with Brock Lesnar, and he blew his knee out in that season.
Ouch.
And Dana White told him right there, "You're coming back." And he did, and he came back, and he's now undefeated in the UFC. And that's one of Don's students that he brought up from when he was 10 years old. So, these two guys fuse MMA and Devastation Athletics here in Michigan, right in the Metro Detroit area. Both awesome gyms. I used to own Four Aces Fight Club, but with my divorce and everything else I've got going on, I have a real career during the day where I travel the world. I just didn't have time to run everything, so I kind of had to let it go.
And what upcoming appearances have you got on the horizon?
Oh boy, I'm everywhere. It's even tough to keep up. Now I draw a blank too many times in the head, but I just did the Bully Walk in Indiana 2 weeks ago. I did stand up for Pitts with Rebecca Corey last week in L.A. I'd like to get back out to L.A. I'm getting ready to go live with Foster Quarter right now. He is the director. He directed all the MC Hammer videos and worked on some awesome projects. And he's creating a movie called Conversations with a Pit Bull. So it's kind of the Green Mile meets Look Who's Talking. So it's going to be 10 dogs on death row, and it's an amazing story, and he's asked me to star in it with him. Nice. I'm actually taking the role that Michael Clark Duncan was supposed to play before he passed. So pretty amazing for me. I get to play the big dumb musclehead with a heart of gold. So it fits well, and it's going to be amazing. So I've got to go back out to L.A., do that. We'll probably do some more promotions while I'm in L.A. for this current movie. And then I've just been asked to come to a million places. I do Silver Linings Pit Bulls over in Buffalo at the beginning of the year. They do a big benefit. Gets about 900 people. Baltimore Bully Crew does an amazing benefit called Tits for Pits, but it's in a topless bar, and they get about 600 people in there.
We're there.
$30 a pop for the dogs.
We're there.
Yeah.
Give us the address to that.
Yeah, and Google Maps navigation. Hey, what time? And is there a cover charge or an uncover charge?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I mean, I'm pulled in a million different directions right now. I love it. I'm getting a little bit tired, but it's all good stuff though. The travel gets a little overwhelming at points, but you know what? I can't complain about anything. I'm just a fighter from Detroit with a love for dogs, and it's put me out there in the spotlight. And I think every kid dreams of that, to be able to go out there and do that and stand on a red carpet with top stars. And Chael Sonnen has tweeted about me when we started the movie. There's Frank Trigg. And all these guys have supported me. Pat Miletich was amazing support through this movie. He was actually going to come in and corner me, but he was still commentating for Strikeforce at the time when my fight happened, so he couldn't make it out. It's just an amazing ride. Ken Shamrock's in the movie with me. To meet my legends and know that they support me, that's just amazing for me. So I still got to go somewhere with Randy Couture. He's one of my favorites. Being an older fighter like me, the longevity that he had, and just the sheer, he's one of those guys that has respect too. He wasn't a disciplined martial artist, but an amazing wrestler that respected the sport, never acted up, always showed respect for his opponents. And then, I give him amazing respect for doing what he did to James Toney, because I had so many boxing people being from Motown, Detroit here, with Tommy Hearns just telling me, Gordon, you're about to learn a horrible lesson about MMA. Tony's going to come in and beat up your hero, Randy Couture, and you saw what happened there. So, I want to hug that guy forever just because he's just an amazing character for me.
Very much so. How can people keep track? Website, social media?
Yeah, my Facebook page is just Gordon Shell, and I'm on Instagram, gshell661. My Twitter is Gordon Shell, or whatever, hashtag Gordon Shell or at Gordon Shell.
At Gordon Shell.
Sorry, my Twitter is hashtag gshell661, I believe. I've got some social media, Facebook's the easiest way to find me. I live on Facebook, unfortunately. It's an addiction. So it's you can find me there. Just go to Gordon Shell or the Dogfighter movie page. We've got our own page on Facebook for the movie. There is a page on there, Gordon Shell versus Michael Vick. It's got almost 6,000 followers right now. So
needs about 3 more zeros on that number.
You can find me. Google my name. It's pretty fun. I Google myself about once a week just to see what's happening. I've heard stories. It's the whole Chuck Norris joke. Somebody wrote on there, I watched Gordon Shell choke a guy out in 3 seconds in Indiana. I never choked a guy out in 3 seconds in Indiana, so I don't know where he's got that story. But Google yourself ever so often just to see what people are saying about you. At least it's all positive so far.
Very cool. Gordon, I want to go ahead and say this. Brother, the door's open anytime. Upcoming projects, please keep us in the loop. Love to have you come back on sometime.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys helping us out with the movie, helping us promote, and hopefully everybody will come there and watch it and help us contribute to the dogs and I don't know, give me another 14 minutes of fame and I'll keep doing what I do.
Not a problem. We're here for you, guaranteed. Ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest at this time, Gordon.